guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Healing Over Everything podcast. My name is T, and I really wanted to take the time to talk about a topic that to me is something that we've all had to deal with at some point in time. And I actually had one of my subscribers request or suggest this particular topic, and I had already taken some notes and included it in my podcast topic list. So I was already on the road to kind of creating content around it. But when it comes to healing, one of the things that we, especially as a community, really have to struggle with at times is the unresolved trauma of our past, right? So even though childhood for us, age, from birth to 18 years old, is the shortest span of time in our lifetime, right? It's the shortest span of time. It is the one that is the most, I feel, detrimental really to the formation of who we are, right? Who we're becoming over our life. And a lot of our traumas are experienced during that time, right? So, I know I've met so many people over my life that have, suffered abuse in some way, physical abuse, sexual abuse, bullying and those things. And it's happened in family, right? So it's been an uncle, a cousin, a next door neighbor, but mostly family members, right? And I've looked at this type of interaction over the years with people that I've known, people that I've grown up with, people that I've come in contact with. And my question to myself, and, I never wanted to disrespect them, but my question was, why do you continue to put yourself in situations where your trauma is it's just being repeated, right? So, for an example, and we're talking just about unresolved trauma in families and how it's really okay to remove yourself from those situations. So, in an example, let's say you grew up in a household and there was a lot of just toxic behavior, right? There's a lot of drinking, smoking, there's a lot of, and maybe I should have given a trigger warning, right? Because I don't want anybody to be triggered by this. Because, there's going to be mention of molestation. There's going to be mention of, sexual abuse, and this may bring up feelings and emotions for you that maybe you are not yet ready to tackle. This show is here to be a resource for you when you get to the point where you want to acknowledge those situations and heal from them. But if these topics are triggers for you, I just ask that you would, save this for a later time when your heart and your spirit can receive the information, right? But yeah, so there are a lot of childhood traumas that we've gone through and people have gone through, and molestation, sexual assault, bullying, physical abuse are a lot of the ones in the community that we have seen. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information and just this is a sister hug, right? This is, baby, it's okay. Like, if you have not ever been given permission to walk away from a situation and never return, today I'm going to give you the permission to do that. Today I'm going to tell you that it's perfectly fine to remove yourself from family and not feel guilt, right? It's perfectly fine that if you show up for events and the environment is toxic, that you don't have to show up, and it's okay. Like, you don't have to continue to put yourself in situations where your heart is torn, right? Where you're feeling less than, where you're being ridiculed, where you're constantly being triggered because Uncle Earl that molested you for 6 years is at the event, and your mama want to know why you don't want to show up for Thanksgiving, why you don't want to show up for uh 4th of July picnics, cuz Uncle Earl going to be there. And Uncle Earl was fiddling with me from the age of 6, and I just don't want to be a part of it. And you don't have to. You don't have to. It's perfectly fine. But if you find yourself questioning, you know, you know, is it okay? Should I go? Or you have people in your ear, girl, you should let that go. That happened 20 years ago. Should I? Should I let go of the fact that I was raped and molested and abused and bullied and ridiculed and made to feel less than? I should let that go. Yes, I should heal from it. Absolutely. I should, do the work to heal. But this is what I think people don't understand, right? Being healed or going through the process of healing doesn't mean that you have to continue to put yourself in spaces where people have harmed you. That's not a characteristic of healed, right? Oh, well, if you healed and if you over it, then you should be able to know. I still need to set boundaries, because if they hurt me before, and I give people the opportunity to change. I'm not saying that if you were this when you were 20, that you're going to be that when you're 60. However, I also give myself permission to change. And I'm not the same person that felt guilty and had to do what mama wanted me to do just because she was mama, right? Our mothers mean well in a lot of things, and they want to build family, and they want us to be together, and y'all family, y'all need to get it together. Okay, well, my get it together is that I love you. I've forgiven you for everything that you've done to me. I'm no longer walking in that pain and that trauma, but I also don't want to sit in toxicity, right? I don't want to be in a space where I'm not celebrated. I don't want to be in a space where I feel less than. I don't want to be in a space where I'm being ridiculed, because I've actually seen situations with my own eyes where there has been previous trauma, right? Maybe, there were cousins that ridiculed another cousin, and they grew up and they, felt they really took on that persona of I'm not good enough. And then when they go to a family event, that family member will actually bring up, remember when we used to call you big old fat monkey? Ha 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 ha. How am I supposed to feel about that? How is that building my spirit up? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes people will live in toxicity and think that it's funny. And then they expect you, oh, well, that was 20 years ago. We don't feel like that no more. Well, exactly right. That was 20 years ago. So why are we still laughing about it? Why are we still bringing it up? Why are we still, remember when we used to? That means it's still fresh on your mind. If it's still fresh on your mind, you will do it to me today. And if you'll do it to me today, then I have to say, you know what? I love myself enough to not put myself in a position for someone to treat me badly. Plain and simple. You are the author of your life. You're writing the story. So when you're a child, you may not have the opportunity to actually be the author, right? Because we have parents, we have grandparents, we have teachers, we have community leaders, we have all of these people that are trying to form our lives, and they kind of have the control because we're young. We don't really know what we should be doing, where we should be going, so we're being led by other people. But when we get older and we come to a place of being responsible, for ourselves, then we make the decisions, we make the choices, we're writing the story. And if in my story, I want it to include and be full of peace and joy and laughter and comfort and support, right? Then I have to put myself in spaces where those things are going to be present. And at some family functions, most family functions, maybe that's not the case. And I'm not telling you this. And actually, so if someone dies in your family, right, and there's a funeral, I'm not telling you to not show up and pay your respects to your family member at a funeral. But I'm also not telling you to put yourself in a position where you emotionally, mentally cannot deal. And only you know what you can accept, right? You know what's too much for you. You know what you can handle. So if Uncle Earl that molested you died, guess what? It's okay that you don't show up to that funeral. And you don't have to give any explanation to anybody why you didn't show up. However, there's also situations where if Uncle Earl died that molested you and you're healed and, and you don't feel any animosity, or not animosity, that's not the right word, but you show up, you sign the book, for mom, because, that's your Uncle Earl. And, she ain't really accepted that he molested you. But you are the author. You decide what you're able and capable of doing. You are the one that sets the boundaries for your life. You are the one that says, you know what? I really don't want to do that. I don't feel like that would be a good place for me mentally. And if anybody challenges that, once you said what you said it, and that's it. They don't have to understand it. They don't have to really accept it. They don't have to agree with it. But you do what's necessary for your own mental health and well-being. And don't let nobody tell, I thought you were healed. I thought you was forgiven. I thought you was a Christian. Well, just because I'm all of those things, it doesn't mean that I'm going to continue to subject myself to something that is not for my best and highest good. Right? So today we're talking about the unresolved, not really unresolved traumas. We're talking about giving ourselves permission to walk in our healing and to set boundaries for those that have harmed us in our past, right? For the family, that it's okay to set boundaries for family. And sometimes a boundary is not even far enough, right? Sometimes, this pillar that we've set up to kind of keep out the bad and, let in the good, that's not enough. Sometimes you have to completely separate yourself from family. That's a thing, right? Like sometimes, you know what? You are not good for me. That means father, mother, sister, brother, uncle, auntie, cousin, all of it. And with no guilt and with no hesitation, right? So if somebody came up and slapped you in your face, and then the next day or the next week or the next month, you showed up like, hey, and they slapped you in your face again. And then you had to, be in their presence again. And you're going to be a little bit hesitant, like, well, guess what? I'm not going to be hesitant. Either I'm not going to show up, or I'm going to make sure I don't have no dealings with or come in any type of contact with that person, because I'm not going to give you the opportunity to slap me in my face again. Because otherwise we're going to fight. We're going to fight. But yeah, so yeah, like I just feel like why do you make the decision to say, well, I'm gonna go because you feel guilty, because oh, we're family. Okay, well, they didn't treat you like family when they were doing what they were doing to you. So they made the choice to do whatever it is they did. And you're making the choice to put yourself in a place of comfort. And that's not it. A lot of family situations are extremely toxic. Not all of them. There are some families that have so much love and comfort and support and just family unity, and they always say beautiful things. Oh, girl, you look good today, and you look beautiful, and oh my God, they show up for graduations, and they really support one another when somebody starts a business, and those families are what family structure should look like. And if you have that type of family, I am so happy for you, right? That you are in a position to be loved and supported by your family. But there's so many people, so many communities of people where family interactions are extremely, extremely triggering, right? And if you are triggered, that's your response to trauma that you've experienced in the past, right? That's what a trigger is. A trigger is I'm remembering an experience that I've had in my past, and it's causing a response in my body. That's what a trigger is. So if you feel fear, if you feel anger, if you feel ridiculed, if you feel um, guilt, shame, when you show up to places, those are triggers. That's your body's response to something that you've experienced in your past. And the first thing that you have to do is you have to kind of, well, why do I feel this way? Right? Why am I feeling this way when I'm around Aunt Susie or Uncle Tim? Right? A lot of times you may not have to really think about it. You know what they've done to you in your past, but when you feel something when you're around a person, now you have to make the decision. Am I going to continue to just feel those feelings when I'm around them, or am I going to do the inner work and then make the decision to, you know what, I really choose not to be around Uncle Tim. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to make that decision. It's okay to set that boundary. It's okay to remove yourself from situations that are not conducive to you growing and healing and advancing. And only you know what you can accept and what you can handle, right? Like I said before. But it's perfectly fine. Like, give yourself permission to say, no, thank you. My grandson, he's 4. And he knows what he likes and what he doesn't like. And you'll say, do you want to go to, no, thank you. Go over there and give so-and-so, no, thank you. And what he's saying is, even at 4, he's setting boundaries. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I know it might be the right thing to do or what I should do right now, but no, thank you. No, thank you. And honestly, when he started doing that, because he was so matter of fact about it, I'm like, oh, wow. I wish I had a no thank you in me a few years ago. Instead of saying, okay, sure, I'll go. Of course I'll go. And the whole time you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. And you have that thing in your stomach like, ugh. As long as they don't come over here, as long as they don't come over here. And then here they come sashaying over to give you a hug. And instead of you saying, no, we're not in a position to kind of greet each other that way. You can give them a handshake, you can give them a hi, or you can just say, no, thank you. But instead you, hi, Uncle Earl. And he kissed you on it. Listen, no thank you. No thank you. Today and tomorrow. No thank you. So basically, the moral of the story and the podcast, the reason that I decided to talk about this is because I've seen it so many times. I've seen situations where people continue to put themselves in positions where they allow somebody to continue to hurt them, right? They allow somebody to continue to make them feel like they are nothing. And you don't have to do that. Set the boundary. Say no thank you. Don't show up to the event. It doesn't mean that you're being disrespectful. It doesn't mean that you're not walking in healing. It doesn't mean that you're unforgiving. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means that I love myself enough to say no thank you. That I love myself enough to make the decision that I'm not going to continue to put myself in situations where my mental and physical well-being is being challenged. Because in those situations, sometimes those people are challenging you to see if they can trigger you, if they can see if they can get you to go off or get you to act out of character. So why show up? Why? Because Auntie Susie said you should. Because Grandma May, baby, you know you need to come on down to the family reunion. You can say, you know what, Grandma, I love you guys. But that's not really a place that I want to be. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you, that it doesn't mean that I, am whatever. It just means that I need to preserve my mental health. And if I put myself in that situation, then I'm going to be frustrated and angry and fearful and I'm going to feel all these emotions that I don't want to feel. So Grandma, no thank you. It's all about setting boundaries and writing your own story. You're the author, right? And don't be an author of confusion. Like, don't let confusion be a part of your story. Don't let trauma be a part of your story. You couldn't dictate or decide what you went through when you were a child, right? That kind of was a decision that was made for you and you had no control of it. But now you have absolute control. You have complete control over the story that you're going to write for yourself. And if we're living in our healed girl era, that means we're making decisions for ourselves. We're doing what's best for us in the time of our lives that we're currently in. And we're not letting our past dictate who we are right now. Right? We're not going to go back to that little scared girl in the corner that was, being bullied by the cousin. Because when you show up to those things, you almost kind of morph back into whatever it was that you were back then. You feel like that little scared little girl or that scared little boy again. And you feel helpless. Those are the triggers, the signs, the warnings that are telling you that this is not a place for you. This is not a place where you need to be. So choose yourself. Choose yourself in the times where someone else is trying to make the decision for you. Oh, you need to go to the wedding. Oh, you need to go to the funeral. Or you need to come to the family reunion. Don't let other people make choices for you. You do what's best for you. You make the decision. I'm walking in my healing. And walking in my healing means I don't continue to do and make the choices and the decisions that I made before. Right? I'm doing it different this time. I'm doing it different. I'm making better choices. And I'm putting myself as the priority. I'm not worrying about how you feel in a situation. I'm worried about how I am going to feel in the situation. Is it going to bring me happiness? Is it going to bring me peace? Is it going to bring me joy? And if the answer to any of those questions is no, then you have the ability to make the decision to say yay or nay without guilt. And that's the thing. Like a lot of times, hey, I probably should have went. You know, that's guilt. You saying that, knowing that, you know what, if I went, I would have felt so out of place and so defeated. And so, you know what I mean? So why is the thought even there that you should have gone? Because you know how you're going to feel in the situations. But what being healed looks like is writing your own story, not letting other people have the control to set boundaries for yourself. And if you know, I always wanted to, you know, have a family where, you know, we supported one another. Then you find the family members that are for you and you surround yourself with them. And, you know, you guys create what it is that you want. And sometimes your biggest support and the people that turn out to be family are actually people that you meet along the way and along your journey. My brother said something to me one time and he said, you know, I had to create my family. You know, and I'm like, well, you got family. But he went out and he found people that were like-minded. And he did. He created the family structure that he wanted. You know, he surrounded himself with the people that were, that had his best interest at heart. And it's okay to do that. Sometimes you meet people along your path and journey that love you more than you've ever felt loved by, you know, people, a family that you were born into. So don't let the word family keep you bound, really. Like, don't let it keep you kind of in a space where, oh, that's my family. Yeah, that's the family you were born into. You had no control over that. But you have control over the space that you're creating. And that's how I feel like that's why I say all the time that I'm an alchemist, because I'm in a creating space. I'm creating what I want for myself. And sometimes I have to be careful because I don't want to create a space of isolation. And you have to really make sure that you're not isolating yourself, because that's actually it's a fear. You know, if sometimes when you're fearful of things, you pull back, you withdraw, and you isolate. You have to be careful that you're not isolating yourself, because we all need somebody. And that's where I struggled at first, because I'm very much, I don't need nobody, I'm good. But you do need somebody. You do need, because you need somebody to kind of talk you off the ledge sometimes, right? If we were supposed to be alone, there would be nobody in the world. We would have just been born and it would have just been us, like that Legend movie. The movie with Will Smith, when he was the only person on earth or whatever. That's how we would have been born into this world. We need people, right? I feel like they add value to our lives. They add, you know, I always used to say that a person couldn't make you happy, but they can absolutely contribute to that emotion in your life, right? I feel like we need people. We do. We're not in this world alone. So make sure that you don't misconstrue setting boundaries and with isolating yourself from others, right? It's a thin line. So be careful with that. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about I wanted to talk about that topic because I've been in a situation in my own family where I felt like I've done all that I could do, right? I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and my love isn't being reciprocated. It's not really being accepted, right? So I'm not going to continue to kind of force myself to in people's lives, even though they're my family. And that's something else. Like, listen, if you want to be loved more from others than you're showing love to yourself, that's also a toxic trait. If people don't want to receive the love that you have for them, you have to let them make that choice and decision for themselves, and then you move on and find someone that's ready to receive your love, even if that is a family member, right? I just want to love them, and yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so today we're giving ourselves permission to, even though we were born into a family, a lot of our families are toxic, and a lot of our family situations are toxic situations. So today we are giving ourselves permission to do something different, to create safe spaces for ourselves. And if that means not showing up, if that means not going to the family picnic, if that means choosing our own mental health over a card game, then you do that. And don't let anybody challenge the decisions that you make for yourself. We're living a healed life. We're living in our healed girl era. So yeah, I really do appreciate you listening to the podcast today. If I said something today that was helpful or inspiring or insightful, just come and comment down below in the comments on our YouTube page, or respond on our Spotify. There's a space where you can kind of comment there as well. And let us know if you have a topic that you want us to mention or talk about here on the podcast, or if you want to be a guest on the show. So a lot of times it's just me talking and giving insight about the things that I've gone through and the journey that I'm on my healing path. But I want you to tell your healing story, and I want to give space for that. So if you want to be an encouragement to someone else by telling your healing story, reach out to me, right? Contact me or DM me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, and let's have a conversation, and let's allow you to tell your healing story. But like always, we end the show with an affirmation. And today it's simple. I love myself enough to choose me over anything else. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Healing Over Everything podcast. I am your host, T, and we'll talk soon.